About
Hampshire is
12
coming up.
hours from now, Nikki Haley will drop out of the race and endorse Donald Trump. She
Really,
does not
that's
want
not.
to return to her home state and get beaten by 40 points in her home state. That shuts her off politically for the future. That's the other reason DeSantis dropped out. He didn't want to come back to Florida and have Trump beat him by 40 or 50 points in his home state. Tonight, Nikki will almost certainly lose by 25 to 30 points. This will be over. The race has been over for a while. It's just that people didn't want to call time of death.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has dropped out of the 2024 presidential race and endorsed Donald Trump. He quit on Sunday ahead of tomorrow's Republican primary election in New Hampshire, where he was polling in the single digits. Mr. DeSantis was once considered a strong contender for the party's nomination, but on Sunday he said he did not have a clear path to victory. And Nikki Haley, Mr. Trump's last remaining challenger, said she was the only one able to beat U.S. President Joe Biden. Well, joining me now, Rick Wilson, former Republican strategist for George W.H. Bush and founder of the Lincoln Project. I guess first and foremost, Rick, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me.
Certainly.
This has been sort of a long time coming in a way. It's been quite a few months that people have been saying that Ron DeSantis doesn't really have what it takes and his numbers have been going down and down. So is there any surprise to the fact that he's pulling out now?
None whatsoever to any professional observer of American politics or anyone from the political field. This was a terrible campaign from the very start, with a terrible candidate and a terrible message, with a terrible portfolio of issues. He was trying to be Diet Trump. He was trying to be Trump without the public embarrassment. And the difficulty he faced from the very beginning in articulating that message was that the Republican base doesn't want Diet Trump. They want all the fat, all the sugar, all the alcohol, all the caffeine, all the preservatives. They want the real thing. And he
Mm.
was sort of a pale imitation of Trump, running on this portfolio of social conservative issues that frankly just didn't work. And he had a terrible personal affect from the very beginning. He was unable to articulate or communicate with people in a way that had any kind of charisma or grace or style or appeal. And so the inevitable conclusion of running out of money is what ended his campaign, and running against the brick wall that if you try to imitate Trump and Trump is in the race, you're going to end up where he ended up, behind the eight ball.
So, does it suggest that no one can really beat Donald Trump to the Republican nomination at this point, or is there hope for a candidate like Nikki Haley? I mean, we're likely
Now,
to. New
about
Hampshire's
12
coming up.
hours from now, Nikki Haley will drop out of the race and endorse Donald Trump. She
Really,
does not
that's
want
not.
to return to her home state and get beaten by 40 points in her home state. That shuts her off politically for the future. That's the other reason DeSantis dropped out. He didn't want to come back to Florida and have Trump beat him by 40 or 50 points in his home state. Tonight, Nikki will almost certainly lose by 25 to 30 points. This will be over. The race has been over for a while. It's just that people didn't want to call time of death.
So you're saying that there will only be Donald Trump in the, but Donald Trump will be the Republican nominee by tomorrow.
Yes, he look, mathematically, after March 19th, none of these other people were going to beat him in the big states where they haven't even gone: Texas, California, Ohio, Florida. And by March 19th, it would be over, no matter how you slice it. But tonight, there will be no more candidates left in the race against Donald Trump of any meaningful. After he beats her tonight, there won't be anybody left. It has always been evolving to be a Trump Biden race, and now we're just finally getting to the actual fighting stage.
And in terms of what that will mean for America, I mean, viewing it from abroad as we are, not, in the thick of it as
Sure.
you are, that feels like an incredibly divisive election. Um,
Sure.
the and so polarized. I mean, there is no middle ground there at all, is there?
No, no, we're in a moment right now where the American Republic and the idea of an American democracy based on the rule of law and a constitution are being challenged. We have a Democratic candidate who's been a kind of center left president, not a radical in any means, and you have a guy attempting to return to the White House on the Republican side who is promising outright they will go after his political enemies using the government. He will put people in camps. He will deport people by the millions. He will go and make the punishment, quote unquote, for women seeking an abortion meaningful. He is going to he tells you everything he's going to do. And so we're in this clash right now where this election is for all the American marbles. This election is the whole thing. We either have a constitutional republic and a democracy, or we don't, and that'll be decided in about 10 months from now, when people go to the polls in November, because
Mm.
there is nothing ahead of us right now, except a cataclysmic political challenge that no American has ever faced before.
Is Trump enough to turn you into a Democrat? I mean, what do you feel when you look at those two candidates? What does it tell us about
Look,
the state of
I'm an
American
independent.
politics?
I'm a registered independent right now. I am not
Mm.
a Democrat. I'm not a progressive. I'm not a liberal. I'm a center right conservative, and that means I believe that the Constitution and the rule of law should come first. That judgment and probity and integrity and personal responsibility should be a big part of both your candidacy, your campaign, your governance style, and your life. I believe that the power of the state can be abused to the detriment of people, and I think that Donald Trump right now poses a worse risk of abusing the power of the state than Joe Biden could ever imagine being. Again, I don't have to agree with Joe Biden on every policy, and I don't, but I do agree with Joe Biden that America is at a crossroads, and we're either going to be a democratic republic based on the law, or we're going to be a third world banana republic run by Donald Trump for a second term.